did a quick bit of remodeling just to show you something. I was talking about two things about center lines, and I'd only gotten to one. I'd gotten to the naming of it. So the other thing about it is its usage. So I had explained kind of that you could use a center line as a kind of just either a construction line or a pointing line, and you could use it as a center line between two parts. And then of course we could go to a proper center line like that one. All right, and yes, I quickly figured out what I did wrong with the note. When you place a note, this text format little feature had dropped down, had hidden itself. Under text format, you can go and select your center line and put in your notes like that. Okay, so just to kind of go a little bit further, let's delete that one and put in center line in the same sense as that one, but just to show you a different usage. So I'm going to go like this. Okay, it's only done two of them. Let's try that again. Center line. I didn't want to do this last one. I'm going to put that in by hand. Okay, so the sort of three usages of center line. One is construction line. One is the center of a symmetrical object. And here I've deliberately gone and remodeled something that's not quite symmetric about this object. So I'm looking at a center line. The center line, you're describing something which is essentially geometric. I mean, symmetric, not geometric. It's essentially symmetric, this one here, although it's got these features which are not symmetric. That's still a legitimate use of the center line thing, because that's the way that you would then dimension across the center line. So in this case, like this. Oops. Right, but this is actually not an optimal way. That's okay. It says diameter 60. I should have a view. Should have a view like this where I can dimension like that. That's a better dimension as far as I'm concerned than this one is, because here I can see the relationship between the diameter and the 60. What am I pointing to? I'm pointing to that circle there. Okay, so obviously in the center one it's going to be more of a problem, but that you would solve with your center line, not your center line, your section view, because the section view you'd be able to then put those things in. So the three usages of this thing are, sorry, I'm hopping about a bit here, just trying to get this view to get out the way a little bit. One is that it as a kind of construction line. This second one is the one I want to focus on here. If you put in something which is a center of a feature, then it's not a center line in the sense that this one is here. In that this is marking the center of the whole object along a kind of a fault line, if you will, whereas this is just marking the center of one feature, which is those two there. But it is indicating that whatever you dimension inside here is sort of symmetrical around the center line. You don't put the center line mark in on these ones. You only put it in on the major axes. So that one there, and then you would obviously have another one. Let's see if we can get it in here from there to there. Not going to do it, but that's where the second one would be, because this is symmetrical generally around the center line, this horizontal one. Okay, so that would then also be a center line, like that. These ones here are significant because you can use them to, if you've got something which is regularly spaced, you can use them to denote what the spacing is. So like this, I can go from here to here, and I can see what the spacing is. I can get the spacing between there and there. That'll be the same. And that's because these are all spaced at the same space. It's 21 millimeters. That's called the pitch. You can, if you want, unless it should be obvious here, you can actually go and put in pitch 21. Okay, and as long as you've got center lines on all of the features, that would be obvious that between the center lines is the pitch. Okay, the pitch doesn't only apply to center lines, but center lines are a good way of doing it. I hope that makes sense. So here, I would now then only have to dimension this feature or this set of features. So that would be 9. That would be radius 3, which I could make a note. Those are both pointing the wrong way. There we go. Okay, and that's what you would do. It would just be 1, 2, 3 dimensions and your pitch, and everything else would follow from that. The entirety of this object is described by, well, not just, it would have to be these as well. Okay, so it would be described by these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and one other one. If I can get it to behave, come on. And there's one. Right, so this item, if I put in just the overall dimension here, other than the wall thickness, is fully dimensioned. There are no more dimensions required here because you've got that width, which on this pitch is going to be 12. You've got that width, which on that pitch is going to be 9. And these radii, you would need to point to these other radii here as well. So one other note or 2 other dimensions would have to just indicate those ones there. And those you could now, because it appears everywhere, you could actually just put 1 in. If I know that all of these radii are exactly 3 mil through every single one of them, then that would be quite legitimate. I hope that makes things clearer. You want to make things as simple as possible. You want to see if you've got common features, you put things in like TYP, so that if there was a different one of these radii were different, if this one was say 5, if you put TYP and then you put another one in here, and let's say just this one was 5, imagine that says 5. Let's just not imagine it. Let's actually make that appear as if it's 5. Okay. So if I had this, I had radius 3 tip and I saw radius 5 on just this end one, I'd know that all of these edge fillets were 3 and just that one is 5, and that everything about this like 12, 12, 12, 12, and that would be, we're missing this one again. So 9. So 9, 9, 9, 9. That would cover it. And that's the overall dimension. That's the overall dimension. That's that inner radius. That would cover the entirety of the dimensioning required for this, other than the wall thickness. Okay, and obviously here, nope. Okay, so another thing just to watch out for, which I have said before, please don't duplicate dimensions. I've got this here and I've got it here. We only want it in that view. And that's it. Any questions about this? No. Okay, so what I thought I'd do is, if we've got enough time, I thought I'd go through this thing of standards and templates. So I'm going to close this one, not save it. And then I'm going to open up a new drawing. I'm going to use one of my templates. I'm going to go from the smallest one. Let's go from that one. Yours will obviously look different to mine. Would you like me to do it on your template? Gabriel? Never mind. I'm going to go to your template. Ah, who's that? Sipo. Oh, you're just saying hi.
Oh, yeah. I was saying you can just use my template, it's fine.
Okay. No, I don't know. I don't have your templates. I've only got my own templates. Never mind. I'm going to go through, I'm going to select the smallest of the templates I gave you so that we're talking about the same thing. So now, if you've got questions, if there are particular things you want me to deal with, please let me know. But I'm going to go through at first just to how to change the templates so that you make sure that it always does the same thing. So you'll have this template. Attached to it are two things. One is a standards file, which is one, hopefully using this one, ISO modified. Let's just see. Yeah. Can't remember if that's the one I gave you, ISO modified, or was it student ISO modified? Doesn't matter. I'm going to use this one. It should have everything that I wanted to do. So the one thing it'll have is a drafting standard. The other one is it'll have a oops, close that. The other thing it'll have is if you file save as, is a draw.dot file attached to it. So if I go here to draw.dot, you'll see it has a draw.dot. That's the kind of background template, if you will, behind the whole thing. That holds the standards. That shows you where all the file locations are. I think I can't actually exactly remember how it works, but I know that one only has to do with the format that you're dealing with. In other words, this layout here, which is, as far as I know, is the template file, and the other one is the deeper one. It's the more powerful one. So those two things you're going to do. So the first thing I would do is if you want to change things, go to your open a template. Go to make sure that you've got this loaded. You can load the current one just by reloading it. Okay. And then, for instance, if you go to virtual shops and you've got star, put witness in, or you want to change something like radius and make sure it doesn't have display with solid leader on, or whatever other thing you figured needs to be changed and it needs to be made different. Or if you just want to load my latest file, you can go, you can drop it in, go to options, go load from external file, and I will rename mine. I'll give it like an issue 1 or something. And you can load that in. So I'm not going to do it now. Once you've got all of that done and you've got like your file location sorted out, which I'll just go through that quickly again. So any of these documents, like the most important ones are templates, standards. You can put your own file location and you can use the standard file location. I like to use just one file location, but you can use two. So document templates, I've got two. That's the standard one. You can click on one of these, double click. Just see edit all. Oh, sorry, you have to say edit all. Go to templates. I think once you double click in here, it'll actually take you to the settings, to the folder, and you can actually then change the folder inside here. Okay, so that's, I hope I'm not going too fast and being too complex here. You must stop me if I'm. So that's the one thing, is you change all your settings. Once they're all changed and you make sure that you've got the correct standard loaded. Okay, so everything's in place. This document as a template is like set up exactly as you want it to be. Once all of that's done, there are two things you need to do. One is you need to save sheet format, but what I would do is, first of all, no, save sheet format is right. Save the sheet format and go and find the sheet format that you want to save it as, which it should take you to the exact one that you're in. So this is in my standard sheet format location for SolidWorks 20. So I'm going to save it there. I can also then, if I want to, I can save it in the location where I have my settings. So here I've got my settings. I've saved it in 2 places with the settings that I want. The second one is you got to go and save as, and then save the draw.dot file. As soon as you click on this draw.dot file, it'll take you automatically to the location. I wouldn't change this. I would just drop it into the standard location. It'll want to rename, SolidWorks will want to rename it as draw 2 or draw 3 or something. Don't let it do that. Select the template that you selected in the beginning, which is in this case A3, and it'll ask if you want to overwrite it. Say yes, done, and then you can close it. Okay, so then I would open each one and do the same thing for each one. So new A2, okay. Once you've done this once, it's much easier because you go to options, you just reload your settings file into the new template, and then you can check on it if you want to, but it'll now have reloaded it, and then you say file, save sheet format. Here we're going to replace it, and I do that twice. So I go to my settings and I overwrite that one. It's just so I've got it in 2 different places, and then file, save as, draw dot, and then overwrite the A2 one, and it's done. That's what you need to do if you want to change your standards, and make sure that they keep coming in at the place you want them to be. Any question? Is it like simple enough or too complex or anything? So just ask me. Just tell me now. Okay? Simple. Okay, so then you would do that with your 4 folders. The other thing you must do then as well, if you're going to make other changes, is new, open your part file, load in here, load this one again, and do the same for that. So say save as, and then just go to, I think it's parts.dot. There is one here, part template, prt.dot. It'll take you to the same templates folder. See, it says part 2 and you've got part 1. If you want 2 different versions, you can give it a name, like your name, fill2. If you want to use that as a separate dot file, you can quite easily do that. If you don't want to mess about and you just want everything to be the same, just overwrite that one. And then that's that one saved as well. It also then has all of your standards and everything loaded. So then you can do that the same for, I can't remember if it applies to assembly files, but if it does, yeah, I think it does. File, open, file new. Yes, assembly would do the same. So you would do the same. Okay, does that kind of explain what you were asking, Gabriel, or did you want to know more about bills of materials and filling in the title block?
More about the title block, but that is really
okay, so this helped, but
then I can just check out the video.
So I didn't get that. So do you want to see the title block thing, or?
And you do the title block thing, although I haven't seen the bill of material video, so it might be in there.
No, the bill of materials is just how to use the bill of materials. So I'm not going to repeat that one. That you can go and watch. But let's just have a look at the title block then. Let's just open something that we've used already. So Sipo, I'm going to use your Aren't You Lucky? Look at what I do, guys. If you ask me for help, I actually go and remodel your whole bloody model to show you how to use the sequence. Sipo. So okay, that's something, just remind me, it's something we must deal with. How to sequence your modeling so that it works, that it doesn't bomb out. Okay, so we'll do that. So here's the thing. So we're going to say make drawing from part. A0, it's cool. Bring something in. Let's change the.
The A3 template, it's written A2 at the corner, at the bottom.
Okay. Well, you guys can go change it. I'll change it, but you guys can go change it. All right, so we've got our drawing in here. So the first thing you're going to do is going to right-click, edit sheet format. And so you guys are going to go to my A1 one, and you're going to double-click on this, and you're going to say A3 or whatever it is. Okay, so I'm going to leave it as A0. What you'll notice is the way I've set this up is I've actually fixed these in place so that they can't be moved around. Because otherwise what tends to happen is you click on this and you inadvertently drag your mouse. So there is a way also of locating these inside a bounding box. I just can't remember how to do it, but you'd actually then, you would select this and you would select the lines. I think you have to have that unselected. Yeah, it might be a zone. I think there's a zone. I'll research that, and if it is relevant, I'll let you know. But for now, it's all just, these are locked in place so that you don't move them around. I'm letting you know this just so that sort of background information for what might help. So that's why when you double click in this, I've already set up the bounding box inside here, and all you have to do is type in the date. If we have time, I might show you how to actually get this to autofill so that you don't have to fill it in. Whatever today's date is, it'll fill. So I think this stuff's pretty simple. I mean, this would be 16-09-2021. Okay, the title would be whatever this is. So lounger, something like that. Project would be answer. I don't know if this is too simple for what you're looking for. Give it a drawing number. So maybe set up a drawing. I think I've talked about this before, but would be, you know, I would do something like UJ, and then maybe your initials, PD, and a dash or an underscore, and then give maybe each project a code. So let's give this ARM, and then a dash, and then this could be drawing number 1, and that should be good enough. So give each drawing a number. Easiest if you just give some sort of code, 2 sets of codes, and then you just name them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the client, yeah, you can put my name in or whoever's code. That's quite easy, I think. Then for discussion here, I've put in a standard because we're not going to worry too much about changes. What you would normally do is this thing would grow as you went along. So you would actually describe, like in issue 2, you describe what the change was. But for the first one, you obviously change date. So that's 16th of what is the 9th? Okay, and then just put your initials in. P.D, PDP, whatever it is. Okay, so I know who's drawn it. And you've pretty much covered this, and then you've got your logo in here. If you were going to make changes, like you've done in issue 2, right? Okay, so where's my issue thing here? Issue 2, there's issue 2. You would change the date, and then you would say, I haven't put a text box in here, so we'd actually need to put a text box. But you would put a text box in, so you'd go to, and you'd list the changes that you'd made. So you'd say changes at A, B, and C, something like that. This is how you would normally do it in, and then whoever drew that. So it might not be you. Someone else might have taken over your drawing and made those changes. So we need to know who made those changes. And that would be then, you know, Gabriel, G, or whoever it was. Okay. But you don't need to worry about that for now. So this is just to show you how this works. So you are the originator of the first issue, so you must put your name in and the date. And then of course here, the material color. If it's a general assembly, these don't apply. You can leave it empty for me, I don't mind. Or if you want to be really proper, you'll put in a, or you can just say CBOM. Doesn't matter. If you leave it open, I'm quite happy. I don't mind. But if it's a part, then obviously you want to put in the material, the color, the finish, and the 2 tolerances if you're prepared to go that far. I've shown you how to do tolerances. I'm not going to worry about it too much after this. So that's the basics of that. Any questions around this so far? Gabriel, does it start answering your questions? No?
Yeah, perfect.
It does. What I would do, by the way, if I open this as a new template, I would actually go and put my name in here. And then exit this. Okay, so this is assuming that you haven't brought a drawing in and you haven't filled this other stuff in. Just put your name in there and save that as the template, and maybe put your initials behind it or something. Then you don't have to fill out your name. You've got your name filled out. You could even go into, like there, you could actually put the code in and put 000 or 001, and then each time you just change it, or you change one aspect of it. So you can shorten those sorts of things. I can't think of anything else. Any other questions that you guys have about this? No.
Just a quick question, Phil. So my general assembly drawing is just that bad only what do you call it, in 3D.
Sorry, say that again. In what?
My general assembly drawing.
Yeah.
Because I only have one part. It's like one complete part that's full like that. So I only put that part only.
Okay.
Isometric view.
Yeah. Technically, you wouldn't have a general assembly drawing because there's only one part. I mean, a general assembly has to have more than one part. But for the sake of showing that you know how general assembly works for me to mark, obviously you have to put the mark in. I mean, you have to put the part in. But then you put the bill of materials in, and you put in all those things in the bill of materials, even if there's only one part. Okay, so
I put the bill of materials. There's only one part, so there's just one line of bill of materials.
that's fine. I mean, in reality, you wouldn't do that. You would just have one part. An assembly has to have more than one part by its very nature. That's why it's called an assembly. You can't assemble one part. You cannot. It's not possible. So philosophically, that would raise questions. But yeah, for us, for the sake of this exercise, you'd have to do that. Yeah, and on assemblies are there's different kinds of assemblies. There's a general assembly, there's a sub-assembly, there's just an assembly. And assemblies have different functions, but they're not there to describe dimensions of the parts. They're only there to describe overall dimensions of the assembled part, or the assembled sub-assembly, or whatever it is that you're putting together. So they're not descriptive of, we're running out of time. They're not descriptive of the individual parts. Those are parts, those are individual parts. That's why you have detailed drawings. Detailed drawings detail the part. That's because different manufacturers will get different drawings. Or the same manufacturer might have different parts to make. Each part must be controlled on its own by a drawing. There are assembly drawings. Let me just show you. So this will be the last thing, then we'll say cheers. So let me see if I can open it. Yeah, okay, here's a good one. All right, so this is for an actual project. When you have something, especially fabrication. So fabrication is stuff where people glue stuff together, weld stuff together. It all gets made in the same place, and you just want to you just want the 3 parts. So this is quite an acceptable assembly view. So partition, sneeze guard, bracket, assembly. But it only applies to things like sheet metal, and things are not being mass manufactured, they're being batch manufactured. So I've got 1 part, 2 parts, and I've got an assembly view. So this one has a Venn diagram. It gives you a title. It tells you what the material is and how many off per unit. Here are the 2 other parts. Here's the assembly. So that's the 1 part. That's the other part. These are the other bits and pieces that go in with it. Reason I'm not providing a bill of materials is because the company I send this to, I send an SDP file. It's like a version of a SolidWorks file, but it's a simpler one. It has all the parts in it. They use that to base, then they can see the specification of this in there. So that's why I'm saying you don't often use fully dimensioned drawings. But this is important. Like here, I've got weld symbols. I want to weld over there, and I want to weld over there. And I've given a finish dimension. I want this to be ground smooth and to be free of burrs. And in my notes column here, I've got mild steel sheet. I've given the specification and what kind of finish I want on it, and then how many I want made. And then you can see here issue 2. So I've been lazy. I don't do the issue 2 thing because I so seldom do changes. But I've got changes at A and B. So there's A, and there's B. And this here is a little thing that you can use. Where is it? I think it's under, should be under annotation. Revision cloud. Okay, so you can drag out a cloud and you can decide what the cloud looks like. So if I go to revision cloud, you can actually decide you want it to be circular thing instead and how many pieces you want. So that's how you would use revisions. You would very often you'd use a cloud and you just put a note there and people can see, aha, that's changed from the last one. So this is a legitimate assembly where you have parts inside, and you could do this, but this only applies to, as I say, it only applies to fabrication in general. There's always exceptions, but in general. Right, I think that's it for today, unless you guys have got more questions.
Now we don't have any questions, but the problem questions come after the lecture. That's what happens usually.
Okay, well,
It's just copying.
Yeah, you're welcome to ask me questions anytime. The easiest way, as I say, is always use Signal. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Although maybe I didn't make this clear. I've got Signal on my desktop. You should be able to load it onto your desktop or your laptops quite easily. You just go to Signal for desktop inside one of your browsers, and you load it and you pop it in, and then you can link it to your phone. So if you've got Signal for desktop, then you can communicate with me directly like this. So let's go back to that file. Okay, let's say you have a question here about this particular item for some reason or other. All you do is you hold down, you're in your view, and you can zoom in if you want. You hold down the Windows button, the Shift button, and the S button. And this little symbol will appear, rectangular snip. Drag over the little bit that you want. That'll put the drawing, that little bit that you snipped, it'll put it into, where is it? It's gone. It's gone. Right, it'll actually put it into a snip. I'm not sure where that one's gone, but if it's disappeared, you can open up Paint. Any one of the, you can open up your own Paint 3D. I like Paint 3D because it's a nice Paint. There it is, Paint 3D. Okay, there, I pasted it. There's my view. You can put notes in here, you can draw in it, you can do whatever you want. You can say, once you've got that, you can say crop, it'll crop it. You can say select, it'll select what you've got, everything inside. You can say Control C, and then you can drop a note to me inside Signal. So let's open Signal. Okay, so let's say I wanted to send it to Kutso. I can then just say Control V, and there's my notes, nice and clear, and I can double click on this. I'm just going to send this to you, Kutso. When I get it, I can go like this. I can zoom in on it, or if you've done it nice and large, I can see exactly what you want. The stuff that you do with cell phones, blurry pictures, they're difficult to see what you're doing. Here you can frame it nicely, you can get exactly what you want. It's very quick. So if you have a question and you've got a drawing, or you've got even a screenshot of, like, go back to, we don't have one, but if you've got a screenshot of a product, something that you're working on, was it that one? Yeah, let's try that one. So let's say you wanted to ask something about this, you could do the same. It's Windows button Shift S. You zoom in on it, you use that, or let's say you've got a question about your sketch and you want to ask a question about that, so the same thing. Zoom in on this, send that to me and say, this is what I'm talking about. Then it's much easier for me to see what the question is, what you're asking, how I might help. Okay. So feel free to ask questions, but it helps a lot if you send me details, and it helps a lot if those details are clear. All right. Okay, so that's it for today. I'll see you guys next week, and thanks for watching. And yeah, submit your drawings by 12 tomorrow if you want to resubmit. You're more than welcome. Cheers, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chef.
My pleasure. Cheers.
Mm-hmm.